Diddy's ex wrapped up her testimony today after 4 grueling days on the stand.
She might have a lawsuit too.
Messenger Don Richard testifies that Sean Diddy Combs hit Cassie Ventura with a skillet filled with eggs.
You got to go back to the drugs and the alcohol, man. The drugs and the alcohol, man. And those things will make you do strange things.
What does it take to silence a courtroom? Don Richard's testimony about the alleged abuse Cassie suffered at the hands of Diddy left everyone in complete shock, revealing bombshell details that exposed a harsh and previously unimaginable reality.
Diddy's ex wrapped up her testimony today after 4 grueling days on the stand. The defense hit her hard during cross-examination, asking her about a stint in rehab for PTSD, a rape allegation, and asking her to read explicit text messages from over the past 15 years.
Richard accused Combs of sexual harassment, gender discrimination, and creating a hostile work environment by exposing her to sex trafficking and sexual acts, while also claiming she was a victim of false imprisonment. In her lawsuit, she sought compensatory and punitive damages, along with other costs related to post-traumatic stress, anxiety, emotional suffering, and financial losses caused by Combs' alleged actions. Combs has denied all accusations, with his lawyer telling E! News in September that Mr. Combs was shocked and disappointed by the lawsuit. Richard's courtroom testimony comes 8 months after she filed the suit, where she alleged years of inhumane working conditions that included groping, assault, and confinement. According to the lawsuit, Combs frequently held meetings wearing only his underwear despite Richard's repeated objections, and even instructed her to strip down to her own underwear while making degrading comments about her body. She also claimed that he entered her dressing room without warning while she was undressed and touched her under the pretense of directing a stylist. Don Richard's testimony hit the courtroom like a lightning bolt. As a former member of Danity Kane, a group created under Diddy's management, Dawn wasn't just a colleague, she was a first-hand witness to the environment surrounding him. This made her testimony one of the most impactful moments in the first week of trial. Though some expected her to provide insight, the depth of what she revealed left the room in stunned silence. Her connection to both Diddy and Cassie was not only professional but also personal, as she worked closely with them and saw their daily interactions. While Cassie's relationship with Diddy once seemed glamorous, Dawn painted a far darker reality that gave weight to years of whispered rumors. As she took the stand, the atmosphere shifted dramatically. Dawn described several moments where she allegedly saw Diddy's angry outbursts, creating a tense environment where people constantly walked on eggshells. According to her, Cassie often bore the brunt of his fury, and these were not stories she had heard. They were events she witnessed firsthand. One specific moment she described left the courtroom frozen. Without quoting directly, she recounted an argument during which Diddy screamed at Cassie so aggressively that her physical reaction made it clear how emotionally damaging it was. It wasn't just the volume of his voice, but the manipulative tone and the way he allegedly dominated situations to make Cassie feel helpless. Dawn said that moment stayed with her as one of many when Cassie seemed trapped under his control. What gave her testimony its weight wasn't just the content, but the delivery. Her voice reportedly carried a mix of pain and long-held anger, as if she had been waiting years to speak these truths. Legal analysts noted that such first-hand accounts are powerful in court, bringing allegations to life in a way that written statements simply can't. Diddy's reaction during her testimony told its own story. Reporters described him as visibly tense, shifting in his seat and whispering to his legal team, seemingly caught off guard by her candor. Though he remained silent, it was evident that her words struck a nerve. She wasn't just challenging his reputation, she was reinforcing Cassie's claims with specific observations that couldn't be easily dismissed. But the moment that echoed most loudly came when Dawn said she believed Cassie spent most of her time just trying to survive. Those words hit hard, summing up the alleged emotional and physical torment in a simple, devastating way that visibly affected many in the courtroom. Her testimony wasn't just another accusation, it marked a turning point in the trial, adding a powerful and deeply personal layer to the case that the defense will find difficult to undo. As the week closed, her words lingered, shedding light on a story hidden for too long. With more witnesses expected, including others close to Cassie and Diddy, the courtroom now braces for further revelations that could redefine the trial's course.
If she witnessed, and she's saying that she witnessed a gangbang, which actually we know it as called a train. And she worked on the album, The Train to Paris. And like I heard one of the YouTube, it could be Tistel, say that we didn't know what the train to Paris meant. But now we know that the train to Paris was a train in Scotland. It wasn't a train in Paris, it was a train in Scotland. Every time I have a witness doing something is when two guys and two girls will go in the room. And that was just regular. And however they did it, whatever they did, that was their business. But he gotten bold enough, whereas that he would do that in front of Dawn and other people at a poolside in Scotland. You sure it was Scotland, man?
Kane alum Don Richard, who began working with Sean Diddy Combs while competing on his reality show Making the Band in 2004, took the stand on May 16th after Cassie concluded her testimony. After the disbandment of Danity Kane, Richard joined Combs' group Diddy, Dirty Money. While testifying, she told jurors that in 2009, at Diddy's Los Angeles home, she witnessed him strike Cassie Ventura with a skillet full of eggs. According to NBC News, Richard described how Combs came downstairs demanding to know where his phone was, then suddenly threw Cassie to the ground and attempted to kick her as she curled into the fetal position, trying to protect her head. She added that Combs wrapped his arm around Cassie's neck and dragged her upstairs, after which she heard glass shattering. Richard admitted, "I was scared for her. I was scared to do anything." The courtroom tension intensified when a shocking piece of evidence was introduced, an audio recording of Cassie. On the tape, she is reportedly heard threatening a Diddy associate who allegedly possessed video footage of a violent altercation. As the recording played, the atmosphere in the room changed dramatically. Jurors were visibly stunned, with the tape offering not just a glimpse into the toxic dynamic between Diddy and Cassie, but a raw, emotional snapshot of the chaos they were entangled in. Cassie's voice on the tape was urgent, angry, and filled with desperation. Legal insiders described her words as the voice of someone emotionally worn down by years of conflict. Her threats didn't sound calculated, but more like a breaking point from someone pushed beyond their limit. In the recording, Cassie is reportedly speaking to a man believed to be a close associate of Diddy, confronting him about evidence he may have held regarding a violent episode. Her voice swings between fury and a desperate need to reclaim control, reflecting just how deeply others in Diddy's circle were drawn into the couple's private turmoil. The emotional volatility on the tape made it clear this wasn't just Cassie reacting to a single event. It revealed years of pain and mental strain. Legal experts explained that such emotional intensity is common among victims of long-term abuse, where constant manipulation and fear warp normal responses into desperate actions. One analyst pointed out that this recording added complexity to the trial, confirming not just the alleged abuse, but also the psychological toll it had on Cassie over time. The tape illustrated how someone living under that pressure might react, not out of malice, but out of survival. Though not definitive proof on its own, when combined with Don Richard's vivid testimony and other accounts, it created a layered, disturbing portrait of a relationship steeped in control and trauma. Still, the defense is expected to push back hard. Diddy's legal team may use the recording to challenge Cassie's credibility, suggesting the emotional outburst reflects instability rather than victimhood. It's a common tactic in high-profile trials, shifting focus onto the accuser's behavior to distract from the allegations themselves. Sources say Cassie's past, including her mental health and private interactions, could soon be put under scrutiny. However, the recording isn't just about Cassie losing control, it's about years of being controlled. For too long, Diddy has been seen as an untouchable industry figure, while Cassie's role was publicly minimized. This tape shattered that illusion, revealing a woman fighting to reclaim agency in a relationship where she appeared to have none. As the trial progresses, the stakes keep rising. Will the defense successfully cast doubt on Cassie's story? Or will more testimony and evidence continue to support the troubling picture being drawn? What's certain is that this trial has evolved beyond legal proceedings. It's now a powerful reckoning with the emotional and psychological costs of fame, power, and unchecked influence.
Those are things that she's gonna have to bring up into the lawsuit, that Diddy stopped the way that she was working and how she could work by the fact that he would change, like you just said. What she would do, bro, he would turn off her mic and don't let her sing songs or don't let her do certain things, a part of the band, when he didn't do her sexual advancements. I don't know what to say about that, brother. All I can say is that, you know, all of it sounds like using his power. He's using his power to get at people that works for him. And when you do that, when they bring you to court, 9 times out of 10, you're gonna lose if they can prove it.
One text message, Cassie writes, "I'm lost without you."
We know now that she called herself Cece for Cassie Combs. We know now that she wanted to have a child with him.
Jurors also heard an audio recording where Cassie could be heard threatening to kill a Diddy associate who had video of one of her freak-offs with Diddy.
The jurors were shocked. I saw the eyebrows raised
Cassie was asked about receiving a FaceTime from her now husband while she was having sex with Diddy.
I think they're trying to use what they can, again, to discredit her as a witness.
The defense team's strategy to pivot attention toward Cassie's past, intended to chip away at her credibility, has taken a turn few expected by spotlighting her time in rehab, her PTSD diagnosis, and even a prior rape allegation. They hope to paint Cassie as unstable and emotionally unreliable. The tactic was meant to sow doubt in the minds of jurors, to suggest that the trauma she spoke of might not be a result of her relationship with Diddy, but rather part of a broader pattern of personal instability. But the move may have spectacularly backfired. Instead of dismantling her image, these revelations deepened the jury's understanding of her trauma and vulnerability. Rather than discrediting Cassie, the defense inadvertently portrayed her as someone who had already endured profound emotional suffering before and during her time with Diddy. Legal analysts were quick to point out that exposing her history of psychological distress didn't weaken her claims. It lent them more weight. It painted a picture of a woman whose vulnerabilities may have made her even more susceptible to manipulation and control. One of the most dissected moments came with the introduction of private text messages between Cassie and Diddy, including one in which she wrote, "I'm lost without you." The defense leaned heavily on this message, arguing it reflected mutual affection and emotional interdependence, not abuse. But trauma experts countered that survivors of abuse often express attachment to their abusers. It's a documented psychological phenomenon known as trauma bonding, where the lines between love, fear, and survival become dangerously blurred. Instead of proving their relationship was consensual and healthy, the text only complicated the picture. They highlighted how emotional dependence can coexist with psychological torment, how someone can feel unable to leave even the most toxic of situations. This kind of strategy, attacking the survivor's credibility by weaponizing their trauma, is not new in high-profile abuse cases. Defense attorneys often dig deep into a plaintiff's personal history to uncover anything that might be used to cast doubt. But in Cassie's case, this line of attack only further illustrated the stark power imbalance at the heart of her relationship. With Diddy, the more the defense pushed her emotional fragility into the spotlight, the more it bolstered the narrative of someone who was manipulated, not mad. Her stint in rehab and her battle with PTSD became more than just side notes. They were seen by many as potential consequences of long-term emotional abuse. In essence, the defense's attempt to portray Cassie as damaged ended up reinforcing the idea that Diddy may have been the cause of much of that damage. As public observers and courtroom analysts noted, the emotional texture of the case has changed. This is no longer just a he said she said about isolated incidents. It's about long-term patterns, about the psychological grip of someone with immense fame, influence, and control. And that matters deeply in the eyes of a jury, asked to weigh not just facts, but emotional truth. Looking ahead, the trial is only gaining momentum. Former Danity Kane members and individuals from Diddy's professional circle are expected to take the stand next. Their testimonies could either reinforce Cassie's depiction of an emotionally manipulative relationship or complicate it further. Either way, the defense's early gambit to discredit Cassie has already introduced a deeper, more humanizing narrative that's hard to ignore. Whether intentional or not, their tactic may have done more to support Cassie's claims than to dismantle them. And as the trial unfolds, the emotional weight of her story continues to shift public and legal perception piece by piece.
Unfortunately, we're all going to take a disgusting trip to his seedy, awful world. You know, the man has no class. He has no kindness in his dark, dark heart. And he's depraved. That's my opinion. This is a depraved, disgusting individual.
The facts are the facts, the texts are the texts, and I think that the evidence will be clear.
That Ventura had a choice and that she chose to participate in those sexual encounters.
Where she is entertaining other people in the bedroom. He enjoyed having the freak-offs.
She's being asked specifically about the drug use.
She is clearly excited about freak-off.
Here's a polished version of your draft, rewritten in a sharper news-style tone, formatted for YouTube narration. It keeps the original length but adds rhythm, urgency, and clarity, perfect for a breaking scandal video. Unfortunately, we're all about to take a trip through the dark underworld of a man accused of wielding fame like a weapon. Harsh words? Maybe, but after what's unfolding in that courtroom, many are asking the same thing. Who really is Sean Diddy Combs behind the glamour, the hits, and the empire? According to testimony, we're not just dealing with a mogul, we're dealing with someone allegedly driven by control, manipulation, and, as one courtroom observer put it, depravity. The defense tried to shift focus by dragging Cassie's past into the spotlight. Rehab, PTSD, even a past rape allegation. They wanted to portray her as unstable, unreliable, but instead of dismantling her, they revealed something far more powerful: vulnerability, real human vulnerability that helped explain why someone like Diddy could allegedly hold such psychological power over her for so long. And then came the texts. The defense leaned into one where Cassie wrote, "I'm lost without you." They used it to suggest emotional dependence and, by extension, consent. But experts on trauma shot that argument down fast. Survivors often express attachment to their abusers. It's called trauma bonding. It's real, and it only made Cassie's claims more believable. The moment Dawn Richard took the stand, the courtroom shifted. Her testimony was haunting. She described moments of visible fear, emotional collapse, and Diddy's outburst directed at Cassie. It was a piercing look into alleged long-term abuse. Now, Aubrey O'Day, another former Danity Kane member, is set to testify. She's long been outspoken about the toxic environment under Diddy's control. While she hasn't previously accused him of abuse, her insights could solidify a disturbing pattern of behavior, one not confined to private life but deeply embedded in his professional dealings. This isn't just one woman's story anymore. It's a chorus, each voice adding weight, credibility, and a devastating sense of consistency. And it's not just the artists. Former employees, those who worked closely with Diddy, are also preparing to testify. These people saw the day-to-day. Some may have witnessed abuse directly, others may have been asked to look the other way. Either way, their testimonies are critical. Legal experts agree. When multiple people from different angles paint a similar picture, it becomes nearly impossible to dismiss. Cassie, Dawn, Aubrey, and now insiders from Diddy's own circle. The net is tightening. Inside the courtroom, Diddy's carefully polished public image is beginning to crack. At the start, he appeared calm, confident even. But as the testimonies piled on, that composure began to falter. Observers noted how he shifted in his seat, tightened his jaw, whispered aggressively to his lawyers. The moment Dawn Richard delivered her damning testimony, his demeanor darkened. Gone was the image of control. In its place, visible discomfort, even anger. When explicit text and audio recordings were played, his posture stiffened, his eyes narrowed. It wasn't just about what was said anymore. It was about how Diddy reacted to it. This trial isn't just about Cassie and Diddy. It's about power, who has it, how they use it, and what happens when someone finally dares to challenge it. What's unraveling in court is a narrative of emotional control, professional coercion, and systemic silence. Every new witness brings fresh weight to this case, and if Aubrey O'Day backs up even a fraction of what Cassie and Dawn have alleged, the defense's strategy may fully collapse. This is no longer a celebrity scandal. It's a reckoning. The next wave of testimony could change everything we think we know about Diddy, and with more revelations expected in the days ahead, the stakes have never been higher, not just for the trial, but for the legacy of one of music's most iconic figures. Stay tuned, stay informed, and above all, don't let stories like this fade into silence.